Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I am Jeff Howard, and I'm very delighted to have in person Jared Hall. Hey, Jared.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jared.
This is Jared. I'm just going to say your name over and over. Oh, well, first of all, I'm delighted because Jared, as I said, in person, we're sitting across the table from each other, which is always nice. Zoom is good too, but in person's even better. And what can I say? Jared is a delightful person. I met you at Film Invasion Los Angeles last year in 2024. June 2024, Film Invasion Los Angeles, that I'm the head programmer of. I guess now the term is festival runner. But anyway, not about me. Anansi the Spider. That is your film, and it took home. I have to slide the glasses back on. You won the Filmmakers Award for Outstanding Short Film Animation. And I love the second award you got because Outstanding Cast Performance, which honestly, the voice acting in your film is so wonderfully memorable that I was like, that was one of the ones that I was like extra proud of our jury. You know what I mean?
Oh, I was so happy to hear that because I put a lot of extra work in recording people from back home. Oh, before we get into it, I'm from Jamaica. I grew up in Jamaica. That is where I first heard Anansi's stories. So to me, the character has always felt like he should have a Jamaican accent and his world should have Jamaican accents. And even me, even though I'm born in Jamaica and spent so much time there, I don't have a very strong Jamaican accent. It comes out a bit every now and then, but I really wanted to make sure that the characters, especially Anansi himself, has that like patois in the way he speaks. So I found my high school friend, Daniel Jennings. We grew up together, and he nailed it. He completely nailed it. I was worried because initially I voiced Anansi, and I did like recordings of myself doing it, and I was almost reluctant to be like, oh, who do I want to give this role to, you know? But I found him, and he just like I was like, got it. Like you're the perfect voice.
But you do a voice still.
Oh, I
of
do.
One of the other animals.
Yes. I'm Tiger.
Yes.
I'm Tiger. I just speak in a little lower voice.
I bet your Anansi was pretty good.
It was all right, but I'm so happy with Jennings' performance as Anansi. It's like I feel like that's what got us the award. Really,
it was everyone.
Everybody,
but,
true.
And it's honestly, it's just a wonderful film, and it's so beautiful to look at. So people can watch it. Well, first of all, there's a screening they can come to.
Yes. Oh, first off, I want to say, my other friend Elijah Gallimore-Rapole voiced Snake in the film. He also did a great job, and I have to say, Film Invasion LA, I think, was the perfect first festival for me to go to. It made me want to go to more. I had a wonderful time, and I've been able to go to a bunch since then. Anansi's won like maybe 8 awards across.
That's me doing a golf clap.
Across the place, and we're now being screened at Slam Dance this year in LA on February 22nd and February 25th in the animation block. So if you're in LA and you want to see Anansi, you can see it.
And I regret to say that's so soon because we're recording this on, what is it, the 11th, 12th?
Yes, 12th.
12th. This might not air fast enough.
I'll
see if I can move it forward. But there's a whole bunch of people who've been recorded before you.
Oh, fair enough.
So they stack up.
Gotcha,
so February 23rd is pretty soon.
Okay.
Oh no. Oh well. But hey, you'll continue more.
Oh yeah,
screenings?
there'll be more festivals, and it'll be online eventually. I want to release it to the world. Side note, I'm also working on like a children's book adaptation of it. I'd love to get Anansi into as many hands and eyes as possible.
Yeah, I remember you brought artwork, right? You brought, well, not like a beta version of the book, but like you brought some artwork to the festival.
I actually brought the original frames of animation to the festival because the entire film is hand drawn on paper. and shaded because I really wanted it to look like a children's book, like a very hungry caterpillar or Where the Wild Things Are, but moving, but still with that same detail and texture.
Genuine, organic, analog animation. I don't even know how to. We don't even know how to say hand-drawn animation anymore because it's so rare, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's a rare art form.
It's not completely hand-drawn, but because I'm adding color digitally.
Yes.
So I have more control over how the color is used. In fact, that's actually something that I learned because I came into animation much later than other people I know. I actually had a bachelor's degree in illustration. I studied at the Rhode Island School of Design for 4 years, and I got illustration there. And the last 2 years kind of got infected a bit by the pandemic. I lost some time there. So I finished the program and I still felt like I hadn't found the kind of arts I really wanted to make. I still wanted to be in school for a bit longer. So I was like, oh, hey, why don't I apply to the California Institute of the Arts, their animation program, and see if I get in. And then I got in. And then Anansi is the first animated film I ever made.
Well, I'm now going to make us back up because you're already talking about college.
Oh.
So you were born in Jamaica.
Yes.
And were you a creative kid?
I'd like to think so. I've always loved to draw. I've always wanted to be an artist. I think my mom always tells this story about I'm watching Finding Nemo or something, and I tell her oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to make arts. I want to make whatever. And it didn't always go over well because I was a pretty smart kid. I got good grades in school. And, back home, if you're like, hey, I want to draw pictures, they're like, you should be a doctor or a lawyer.
I was going to say, yeah, when a kid shows the intellect, yeah, parents think, not art.
Thankfully, both of my parents were very supportive. And I think that actually comes from the fact that they both started out as teachers, So I feel like they had a good understanding of children and, wanting to support their interests in that way. So, they were always like, oh, you want to be an artist? All right, let's see how we can make that happen. They helped me get into summer camps, even in the US, so I could be exposed to different arts and art forms and learn more and build up my portfolio, which if I hadn't been doing that, I would never have been able to apply to a school like RISD way back when, or Cal Arts after.
RISD, I will mention that as a Californian, I'm actually, in spite of being a third-generation Californian, I worked with someone who had gone to RISD, and I know that's an excellent school. And a Rhode Island School of Design, and I actually knew a painter, a fine art painter, and I actually bought one of his paintings. My college job was bank teller, and he was a painter bank teller, and I was a student bank teller, and I went to one of his openings at a gallery, and I'm like, that is so beautiful, I'm going to buy that one, and he gave me a good price, but I forget where that painting might be in storage somewhere. I don't know. I think maybe one of my wives made me get rid of it.
Oh,
the first one. Anyway, not about me again. So you, as a kid, you were telling me that your parents were encouraging, and that. So, besides drawing, did it get a little more serious before RISD, or was RISD really where it took off?
Actually, no. I was always the art kid.
Uh-huh.
I remember being really young in kindergarten, and I was the art kid. I was the people that'd be like, "Oh, can you draw this?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I could draw that." I remember one time I even got the art teacher to let me teach the class for a class where I don't know. For some reason I'd made this little puppet character out of toilet paper rolls, and I brought him to school, and she was like, "Oh, why don't we all make that?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then we did that. So, I was always that. And then in high school,
highly creative stuff, yeah.
Oh yeah, I've done all sorts of stuff over there. in high school, I got into a bit of the engineering stuff actually, and I made like a motorized dragon that could flap its wings and open its mouth and wag its tail, or like a creature. And I even like sewed on fur and like hair and like teeth and like stuff like that. I in high school, in the Caribbean, there's like different examinations for subjects. So it's called like Cape Arts, Cape English, whatever. I like placed regionally for both of those while I was studying art back home as well.
Yeah, those tests, that comes from the British, right?
Yes,
that's
it does.
A British thing. Yeah.
That is a British thing.
Yeah, which is probably a good thing.
I think so.
Yeah. Help nurture talents that might go unrecognized, right? So.
I mean, hey, I'm glad I'm speaking English, It's a lot easier for me to have already known it, than if it was some other language. Which is funny because Jamaica was actually colonized by the Spanish first and then the British. So some of our parish names are still in Spanish, even though it's been like so long now.
Amazing. All right, so and it just continued through high school. So because I'm picturing young Jared teaching everyone how to make their puppets, but then you just continued on, and you were always just an artistic person, and you were drawing and painting.
Yeah,
all
always.
through your school career.
I have never wanted to do anything else. I always knew I was going to make arts. I just didn't know what kind of arts I was going to make as like my thing, So I spent a lot of time doing all sorts of stuff where I'm like, oh, maybe I'll draw like this. Maybe this is my style. Or like, oh, I'll sculpt a little bit. Or like, oh, I'll learn this. I learned some printmaking, for a summer. Or like, I try and pick up as many art skills as I could. And, RISD was also really good at that later on as well, because they teach you like the full gamut of stuff before you pick a major. And I feel like, at the time, and even younger, I was always worried about like, what's my style? What's my approach? And if anyone listening to this has worried about that in their life, I just want you to know, like, I think style is what happens when you try everything. And then you're like, oh, this is the stuff I like to do. This is the stuff I'm naturally drawn to. But you still have to try everything first and really feel your way around. It takes time, but it happens.
And you were aware as a younger person that style sort of mattered. But you had favorite artists and you like appreciated their styles, and so that inspired you to think that you wanted your own style, or?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah. I had a couple artists. I've read a lot of comic books. One of my favorite artists ever, and I actually got to meet him in person one time, which was really cool, was Mike Mignola, who is the creator of Hellboy. His work had this amazing boldness, like very high saturation, very dark blacks, and I don't know, it just stuck in my head. I remembered I would like kill the ink in our printer back home, printing his stuff and putting them up on my room. And it would just like, and his stuff is so black, like it fully would eat away all the ink. And they'd be like, Jared, what are you doing? He was my favorite artist. I have every single like comic book he's ever worked on my shelf back home. I got him to sign them too when I met him in person. It was amazing. And then that was also the same day I found out I'd been pronouncing his name wrong for the entire time, because I was saying Mignola, not Mignola.
Yeah, that Italian G. Yeah, I got burned on that by an Italian person or two as well. It's funny, but I love that too, because I really enjoyed graphic novels when I was at university. And I realized pretty early on, I'm like, wow, these are storyboards for film.
Yeah,
like the story. It's some of the best storytelling possible is in comic books and graphic novels.
Absolutely.
But clearly, did that inspire you? Did you because now I'm honing in on the fact that you were also into storytelling, right? Because you were so into art, but then the comic book thing. I mean, it's so story intensive, right?
Of course. comics make you think a lot about not just how the story is going, page, like panel to panel, whatever, but like also how the entire page looks together. You know, like they design images as not just like, you know, one sequence, but like the whole thing all at the same time. That sort of big picture outlook is something I try to replicate too, like in my own work as well, you know? And Mike Mignola's stories especially, I think they were a huge influence on me because so many of them take inspiration from mythology and folklore, which is the whole basis of my work. I'm always going to be drawing from that same wealth of folk tales and myths just because I'm still so entranced by them. And you could say it started with like those comic books as well.
Absolutely. Did you do your own comic in school? You must have. You must have played around with it.
Yeah, I did a couple stuff. Well, I'm a little embarrassed about some of it now.
Whatever. You shouldn't be embarrassed that you were once in high school or junior high, middle school, and you know when you're a growing kid. Of course, your work may not be what you do now.
True,
but
true.
I bet it was great for the time.
I'd like to think so. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I had my own little stories I wrote a lot. Like, I mean, if we're gonna go into it a little bit, like I always loved stuff that's like playing on words, like idioms, you know. And I wanted to create a whole world where like all the idioms are true. Like, oh, cats and dogs really fall from the sky, pigs really fly, and all the people were like that too. Like, time was a person, a death was a person, and love was a person. And I'd write little stories with them. And I'm still working on some stories with them now to this day. But like that started in high school with me like trying to like, you know, create my own myths, my own little folk tales.
And that's very cool, actually. And that shows, obviously, it's an imaginative medium, too, because the sky is the limit, right?
Right.
Like when a young person is playing with a video camera, you're just capturing what you see, but you are creating from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, it's funny because just recently, my wife and I just re-binged the Key and Peele TV series. So now I think I've watched every episode 4 or 5 times in my life. But there's one where he has pajamas for his cat because cat's pajamas and lightning in a bottle. He actually has lightning in a bottle, and all the idioms like are come to life. Like,
oh my god!
Like so, you just reminded me of that. Like with what you were that's you were right there with that.
Yeah, no, they're. I think idioms are so cool, especially like. Because they're just these common expressions that do not make sense.
They don't.
They don't make sense.
I said cat's pajamas to our 17-year-old driving her to school Monday, and she goes, how is cat's pajamas a thing?
Yeah.
And how does it mean, like, great? Like, you're the cat's pajamas. I'm like, I said, well, there's this thing called the internet. Maybe you could look it up and tell me.
Or ask ChatGPT too. You could ask.
Oh, there we go.
We
can get into AI if we want. But first, let's get you. So, anything important before we get to RISD? Anything else you want to share from your?
No, I think we're good for RISD.
All right. So now you're at RISD, and I love that I see. This is something that I never knew about RISD was that. So you ended up the first year or two you studied lots of disciplines and lots of forms of art so that they make sure their students really find the right concentration, I guess.
Yeah, they wanted it to be an informed choice where it's like we do a little bit of everything and then it's like, okay, now you can decide. For some people that's a hassle where it's like, I already know what I want to do, like why am I doing all this stuff?
I'm an oil painter. Don't make me do anything else.
But I don't know. I enjoyed that time.
Yeah. And then you narrowed in on illustration by year 3, maybe, or
yeah, I think it was year 2 or year 3. I can't remember exactly right now. I think I would say year 2. It's funny too because initially I went to RISD to study animation. I kept thinking like, oh, I'm going to study animation. I'm going to do animated things now. But after I did that
was that from your love of film? And,
yes. And, like wanting to make stuff like comics too, where it's like, that same look. But then after that year, I'm like, oh wow, I kind of just love drawing a little. I want to draw more. I want to develop my skills with just a pencil and shading and whatever. I want to do that more. So I'll be an illustrator. And then if the animation stuff happens down the line, then it'll happen, But I just really liked working traditionally, and I wanted to do more stuff like that.
Right. So in a way, you change your emphasis of sorts.
Yeah.
Or you considered focusing on animation, but then you came back to illustration, which was in your heart anyway, your whole life. And certainly the comic book industry was actually I'm totally ignorant. So when the Marvel movies when nerd culture became pop culture, right? And the Marvel movies were all of a sudden huge. Did that cause a renaissance for comic book art and illustration? Did it increase?
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Yeah.
The movie industry is, like $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
The comics, even though that's where they all originate from, in comparison, they're always gonna kind of be lagging behind, being influenced by the movies. That's the thing where now it's oh, okay, the movie is like this, now we have to make the character look like that in the comics, so more people will read the comics. They're always trying to get more people.
The comics are sucking the movie stuff comes back in.
Yes,
right.
Yes, they do that a lot.
See, I had this silly fantasy sitting here across from you thinking, oh, how cool if you were RISD, and because there was this huge explosion in comic book movies, they started going to the schools and saying, looking for talent, the Dark Horse and Marvel and DC, because Hellboy was Dark Horse, right? I think.
Hellboy is Dark Horse, yeah.
Look, see, I know that.
Oh, okay.
but yeah, so there was so illustration and was that, well, how does RISD go? Do you end up just focusing on illustration for the last few years?
The next 3 years, you're just doing, for each of the different majors or concentrations, there's a lot of required subjects you have to go through first. You have to do painting, you have to do, I don't know, some more theoretical stuff where it's where they teach you more oh, this is how we do editorial illustration. This is how you think about, different required stuff like that. Or oh, this is how you design a book cover, or illustrations for books,
So very practical stuff too.
Yeah, very
Was
practical
there also
stuff.
art history
classes
and things like that?
Art history classes and lectures and all that as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So fantastic education.
Oh, yeah. I had a great time. But I will say during that time, I was, as I mentioned before, I was still struggling with what is my work? What is my style? And that continued even to the last term. Because in the last term, you're supposed to do a show of all your work. Or, well, not all your work, but your best pieces. And you put them up on a wall, and, you bring people, you invite them in, and you take them around the room. And, I really struggled picking the pieces that I'm oh, does this piece represent me? Does this piece represent the kind of work I want to do? In the end, I felt there was some pieces that I liked, but it felt like TGIF, how there's just a bunch of random stuff on the wall. That's how it felt for me, where I'm there's not a cohesive vision.
I was going to ask the question. Yeah, so there wasn't a cohesive thing tying all your work together at that point.
Not yet, though. Funnily enough, one of my very last assignments, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about this because it's ended up being so impactful. One of our last assignments was we get assigned a word that is the opposite of us, okay? And then you have to do an illustration based on that. So my word was hostile.
So was it chosen by your peers or by your peers, professor?
By the people in your class.
Oh, that's so cool. The people who truly know you.
So they're okay, your word is hostile. And I'm
so that means you were the most amiable person in the class.
Yes. I always have a nice thing to say about people's work. I'm that kind of guy, But yeah, that word. And I'm okay, hostile. And I drew this image of a creature it was like a manticore. It's like a half human, half lion with a scorpion tail. Because I'm thinking like, oh, this is the most dangerous, scary looking creature. And instead of like drawing a lion's hair, I made it hair really spiky, like a sea urchin. And then I had it look like a cactus, the scorpion tail. And I just made like this creature that just looked like the most like about
like
to get you.
Very deadly.
Yeah, the most like get away from me, like kind of thing. And it was like, it was in that kind of book illustration, Eric Carle, very Hungry Caterpillar type style, because I just wanted to do something quick. Like I ran out of time. I was like, oh God, drawing, color. Like I just didn't think about it. I just like made something as quick as I could. And then my teacher was like, there's something here. There's something with this drawing. You're doing something here. And I just kept that in the back of my mind, for when, can we move on to when I graduate? Yeah, like I'm at Cal Arts now, right? And I'm studying animation, but in my free time, I'm like suddenly just I don't know what's in the water there or the air, but I'm like suddenly like my brain is like bursting with creative energy. And I'm like, my teacher really liked this drawing. I'm going to do a bunch of drawings just like it with different myths inspired. So like a manticore, okay, a minotaur, a genie, a fairy, a blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, this is what I like to do. This is the kind of work I like to do with like bold, strong silhouettes and bright colors and like kind of taking from that illustration style, very textural, And then it all comes back together. I drew a picture of Anansi in that style. And I was like, oh, Anansi. And I showed that picture to my teacher at the time. I was like, could I do a whole film with this guy? And they're like, yeah, sure.
Well, I'm so overwhelmed with comments because, first of all, I want to say, amazing that it was almost the last project at RISD that you just, that you, instead of thinking about it too much, you just did it.
Yes.
And it came out.
Yes.
And as you described your manticore, I was picturing the artwork in Anansi and thinking it is like, so related.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask you something, which is, did you go directly to Cal Arts from RISD, or was there a little bit of time in between where you just, like, did you decide to go to graduate school immediately?
Yes, basically.
Yeah. So you were like, I'm getting a master's in fine arts.
Yeah. And again, it was because the pandemic at the time. I felt like I'd missed some school. I wasn't ready to go
right
so the
pandemic hit while you were at RISD.
Oh, yeah. During those last 2 years, I spent like a good deal of time away from campus until I came back.
That must have been crazy. Was it like tons of Zoom sessions with your fellow students, looking at each other's, like holding each other's, like sharing screens and things?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was depressing. I mean, we didn't like hold up our artwork like, hey, look at the screen. But we would scan it and then see it in a Google Drive or something.
Yeah, so you really did get deprived of that art community.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, you were part of a community.
Yes, it was. I mean. For so many reasons, it was like a very stressful time, especially, being expected then to also be like, hey, make art, while everything's going on.
While the world might end.
While everything's going on, here's an assignment, here's work, create something, it was not easy. And full disclosure, I did not do so well in my classes during that time either. That was like one of the first time I ever did not pass a class was during the pandemic, where I was like, oh my God, I can't make this right now.
Understandable. So you knew even before you finished at RISD, you were planning to go get a master's.
Yes.
Excellent.
I wanted more time. I mean, and you have to apply for that stuff ahead of time.
And you were thinking animation, which of course Cal Arts is famous for.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Actually, full disclosure, I applied for Cal Arts for my BFA, for my bachelor's instead of RISD. In fact, when I was in high school, I was like, Cal Arts are bust. Cal Arts are bust. I don't want to go anywhere else. But my parents were like, okay, well, you should also apply for some other schools just in case. And I got into RISD, and that was great. But then, it it was amazing that things came full circle because I'm like about to leave RISD and I'm like, I guess I'll apply to Cal Arts again. I'm fully like, I'm not getting in. I'm just gonna apply to apply just to say I could, right? But then I get in that time and it was like, oh, I needed this experience to get me to this place. Like things happen in their time type thing.
Absolutely. So then, wow. So then you move out to California.
Yeah.
And come to a lot of the just north of Los Angeles, where Cal Arts sits comfortably
in a desert.
There's not a lot out there.
There's not.
There's an amusement park. There's Magic Mountain.
Yes.
And Cal Arts and College of the Canyons, I guess. But
yes.
That's about it, by the way.
Yeah.
And then they build homes out there that are, I don't know.
Real estate. There's a show called The Santa Clarita Diet.
I love that show.
I love that show too. It's one of my favorite shows.
Absolutely.
I want another. I mean, we could get into that. That could be a whole other.
They stopped it too early.
They did with that cliffhanger. Oh my gosh! But that was actually the first time I'd heard the name Santa Clarita. I'd never heard of Santa Clarita before. Now that's where I live because I go to school at Cal Arts.
That is such a wonderfully, brilliant show.
Brilliant show. I love a dark comedy. And it's good. It's so good.
Oh, and such a brilliant retelling of the zombie myth, right?
Yeah, interesting take.
All of a sudden, you got a film where it's like, hey, a couple of realtors, nice. And great cast. I mean, it's a Drew Barrymore as the hub.
Everyone's killing it. Everyone's killing it.
I'm blanking on my husband's name, but he's one of my favorite actors.
Yes, I was going to say that too. I can't remember his name right now, but he's so goddamn funny in that show.
He is hilarious. The same guy from Justified and other things.
Yeah. He gets all the laughs.
All the laughs.
He's so funny.
The daughter's wonderful.
The daughter's wonderful. The neighbor
son.
Kid. Yeah. No, all of them are killing it.
Nathan Fillion as the head.
Even the neighbor kid's mom is hilarious too.
Yeah, the cop. The
cop.
Yeah. No, everybody. That's a great show.
So good. Yeah, but that's where I first heard the name Santa Clarita.
Yeah, right.
So foreshadowing to when I would live there.
So you were a fan of the show before you went?
I was.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Excellent. So then you end up living out there.
Yeah, I was like,
going to
wait.
Cal Arts. Was it, and by then, COVID had receded to a point that we could live with it, so you got a proper graduate school experience.
Yes, I have.
With all the in-person stuff. Probably didn't even have to wear a mask anymore, maybe?
Sometimes you gotta, but mostly good, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So what was Cal Arts like? Was it, is it because it's such a prestigious program, but no, I've talked to people who went there for acting, but actually I haven't gotten to talk to someone who was there for animation or art.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got a bunch of stuff I could say. Well, for one thing, it's worth noting that I'm doing experimental animation, which is different from character animation,
And they have those delineations?
Yes, they are different. They have different rooms, different buildings, And
that's what you applied to?
I applied for a master's program in animation, and experimental is the only master's program in animation.
Got it.
And so that delineation. So the character animation program is a bit more of the normal pipeline for animation, where it's like, okay, we'll teach you, storyboarding, we'll teach you Toon Boom, we'll teach you. I mean, I don't know much. I'm not a character person myself, but it is more like to prepare you to work in a studio, and to
They are literally everyone going there is going to end up at a studio.
Yes,
at
a Pixar.
They're going to end up at Disney. They're going to pick. Yes,
exactly.
Warner Brothers.
Many Cal Arts alum end up doing that, and I'm sure everyone knows a couple. But EA is more like a bit more, which I've really meshed with well, is like about finding your own method of storytelling or animation.
And your own visual style?
Yeah, no two films, I mean in my year at least, no two films look the same. Completely different visuals, completely different storytelling. It's very freeing. In experimental animation, it's a lot of they never tell you no. They're never no, we can't do this. They're like, okay, how do we do this? you know, which I love that attitude. I think it was just what I needed after illustration in some ways too, because as much as I enjoyed that program, it can be a bit restrictive sometimes in some of the stuff. But like EA is just like, yes, whatever, like make whatever, do whatever, you know? And it's like, it was very supportive in making. I would not have been able to make my film in any other program, especially because like traditional animation on paper, you know, when that style that I'm trying to develop, it's not done, you know?
I mean, you say you know, and I want to pretend, yes, I know. But the truth is, I find your film just so visually beautiful. I would actually be really disappointed if I was your uncle or something, and like you showed me the artwork for Anansi, and you're like, yeah, I'm in the character program, and they said, no, don't do this. I'd be like, what the hell? Oh, wait, what the fuck is wrong with them? What's wrong with those motherfuckers? This is like, isn't the point of art to do something original that challenges, you know, that show me something I haven't seen before?
Well, I absolutely agree with you. I agree with you. But it's just like there's trade-offs, you know? Like, I love my film. I really think it's very representative of me and the kind of stuff I want to make and the kind of arts I love. Like, it's not a perfect film, but it's like, you know, it's just everything I wanted it to be. But it went very over time. It was supposed to be my first year short. We're supposed to complete it within a year. Granted, that first semester is like you figuring out what the film is going to be. And then, you know, that last semester is actually making it. But like me drawing frames by hand and then having to like color on top, like did not finish in time. My God, like the first version of the film that ever showed was in black and white. Can you imagine my film in black and white?
I can't, but when you say it, I can actually.
Yeah.
I would not have.
Yeah.
But I can absolutely see that as a sort of the rough draft of sorts.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I want to ask, when you said to your professors or whomever is the authority figure there, that you wanted to do this process of hand illustrated frames and things, it was just like you said. It was just like, yes, go for it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Go for it.
Did they warn you it would take you 1,000,000 years? Or hours? I should have said hours. Like you were talking. Okay, you've just given yourself thousands of or hundreds of more hours of work than the person who's doing it on their laptop.
Well, I mean, it's not like they told me, but they're like. They from the gate, they were like giving me tips on like how to like be a bit more efficient with it. Some of them are a bit harder to explain, you know, in an audio only podcast or whatever. But like, for example, like instead of drawing, all the frames in my film are actually shrunken down when I shade them, you know, and I scan them at a really high quality so I can blow them up instead of drawing them like at a full page size, which would have taken like so much longer. They're smaller, so I could, you know, work faster.
Right. And by the way, when you said black and white, does that mean you're doing it with pencil or charcoal or
pencil, graphite pencil? I wore so many pencils down to the nub. They're gone. They're disappeared.
And you're aware, and so that's so fascinating. Wow, the capability you have to. Because you knew what color you were going to have, or you had an idea of your color schemes and style. But here you are shading with a pencil and probably dark and light, but like making it beautiful on a small scale and then scanning it, knowing that you were going to use technology to add to your color later. That seems like a massive talent that I wouldn't even thought of that exists.
Well, it's not as like unheard of as you'd think. It was really just a result of me approaching this animated film like it was a children's book illustration. Because in children's book illustrations, a lot of people are encouraged to work in black and white first, you know, because you want to make sure that the image reads in black and white before you even add color, because sometimes color can be a distraction.
Oh,
You know,
interesting.
especially in my work, which is so textural. You know, I need to make sure that it reads even with all the texture and stuff, and then the color is like an add-on, a bonus. You know.
That keeps people from using color, right? So that prevents people from cheating, I guess.
In a way.
Or taking a shortcut like, well, it's not perfectly drawn, but I can make up for it with splashes.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You want it to you want every figure, you want every movement to be read, you know, as what's happening. And I wish I could say I always knew I was going to add color to my film, but the truth is, on that first version of it, I was gonna just keep it black and white. I had no plans to add in color, but once I realized I was not gonna finish, you know, in time for the deadline, and now I had suddenly was just gonna be working on it in my own time, I was like, oh, why don't I add color? And it actually took a lot of trial and error to figure out how I wanted to color, because I didn't want to just do it like it was watercolor, like I was just suddenly adding this glaze over the artwork, you know? I wanted my color to feel transformative, you know, where I'm like, once you see it like this, you cannot imagine it in black and white. That is like the goal that I set out to. So I went through a bunch of different experimentations of like, okay, I could add color like this in Photoshop or blah, 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 blah. But in the end, I figured out how to use blending modes in Photoshop, which have this really great effect of transforming the graphite drawings into almost like pencil crayon or colored chalk in some frames, because they're literally changing the original color. They're not like drawing it over. They're like turning the gray into green and the black into red, you know? And then doing that together, it's
Right, so it recognized the intensity of the shade of pencil and then translated that to a color.
Yes.
Instead of laying a color on top of that.
Yes, exactly.
It actually converted or translated.
Yes.
That is fascinating. I didn't know Photoshop could do that.
Yeah, Photoshop can do that. And I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to do it like how I did it, because I cheated a lot. Because like, you know, like I'm doing the backgrounds.
I think you created, not cheated.
Yeah, like I'm doing the backgrounds and I'm doing two different blending modes on top of each other. And I'm like, wait, I don't like how this one looks on top of this one. Let me delete it all the way through the background so that it like won't affect it. And this is not stuff that I was taught, you know, you're just kind of figuring out, okay, I need it to look like this. How do I get it to look like this, you know?
Very cool, very cool. So and by the way, I did think of a question before, so I'm just going to ask it. So in theory, when it was just pencil and you were calling it black and white, that would have just been like your first year project. And if you'd finished on time, you might have just said, okay, I've completed this. Now year two, I'll do something else. But it was really the fact that the process took longer, that it became
Colored?
a colored animated film. Like, because it sounds like you might have been happy with it if you just turned it in on time in graphite.
I mean, that's
I don't know. Am I wrong?
That's an interesting parallel reality. If I'd fully managed to finish the entire film in black and white, maybe I would have been happy with that. But that said, even when I thought I was going to do it in black and white, for those who don't know, when you're animating, sometimes you do storyboards and animatics, you know, ahead of time. And when I was doing those, I did them in color. I did them in the same color that they are in the final version, you know? But, you know, that's just so I could, like, tell the characters apart. But I never... so part of me probably always knew that it was going to be in color. But I had to catch up.
You knew what it looked like. You knew what it looked like.
Like, subconsciously. But my brain had to catch up to where my subconscious was at. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So you complete... So, in the end, how long a process was it?
In the end, it ended up taking around 2 years. Literally less than 2 years, I want to say. Because it's not like I was working on it nonstop the entire time.
Right, because you had to do other things for the program.
I had other assignments and other classes. But, you know, I'd just keep chipping away at it.
Right, so it was on the back burner, you were getting to put a certain amount of time into it, and doing new projects all the time and new assignments.
Yes.
But am I wrong to think that because you love art, it was all pleasurable? It was all a good experience?
I would, to an extent, yes. I love what I do.
Yeah.
If I could get people to pay me to do it, I would do it forever.
Well, hopefully you will. Hopefully things happen because I haven't asked any questions about Anansi yet in the real world, but because we're still at Cal Arts.
Yeah, we are.
But wait, so is there another film from the Cal Arts era?
Yes, but it's not finished yet.
Not finished.
It's my thesis film.
Right.
I'm working on it right now, actually.
Because actually, that's right. Because when you were at the Q&A, I think you shared the information that you were still going to Cal Arts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The experimental animation program at Cal Arts is 3 years long. And I finished the film in my second year. And in my third year, I started working on my next film, my thesis film, which this time I actually want to finish within the year.
And this is February of your third year.
Yes.
Right. So graduate
May.
So in theory, May.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Oh, so you've got 3 months to go?
Yeah.
All right.
We're
And
in the
there's
thick of it.
another film.
Yeah, there's another film. Very, very different than Anansi, actually. I'm almost worried that people who really like Anansi might be like, huh? What?
You have every right to make it different. And you've always shown throughout your life you've had eclectic taste.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Anansi, and then I'm just curious, because not everyone at CalArt. Well, does everyone in that program say, "Oh, I'm going to go take my work on the festival circuit," or is it just I guess I'm curious how I was so fortunate to get to premiere your film at our festival and be there for it, because you might have, I know you show it to your peers, and what inspired you to take it out to the festival world, or is that normal? Is that the standard?
I wouldn't say it's entirely normal. I do know some of my friends have done it. But they don't, they just do it casually. And every now and then you apply to ones, and usually you go for the free ones too, because you're like, oh, okay, whatever. But in my case, it kind of connects to the fact that I had this film, and I had this film that I felt represented me and my tastes and my, what I wanted to be as an artist. And I'm like, I need to finish this so I can show the world the kind of art I want to make. I need to finish this because if I don't finish this in my second year, then I may never finish it. I need to have this done and out of the way. And then I have this thing I can point to and show hey, this is what I like to do, So there was that extra emphasis on I need to finish this film. I need to send it out into the world and, see what people think and blah, 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 and that kind of thing. Because I want to be an independent animator. I want to be the kind of person where they're like, oh, we want that style for our ad or our short or our commercial because they know the Anansi style. I want. So that was part of it. I needed to have the film done so that I could do that.
And then you decided to take it on the festival circuit.
Yes.
Just to get feedback to see.
Just to put it out there.
Just to put it out there.
Yeah.
Because where else? Because Lord knows, I don't know. I assume my opinion. I'm an old man, so when I think of YouTube, I just think of a massive ocean, and if you'd put Anansi just on YouTube, it would have been seen by people and that's it, right? Because it's very hard for things to break through on that. Although maybe people will discover it.
Maybe. I've not uploaded Anansi to YouTube.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why I haven't done that is just because festivals.
Yeah, you're still on the festival
I'm
run.
still on the festival run. And, I heard that, festivals are less likely to accept films that are just free to see already,
Most don't like it.
Yeah.
We're the only festival that doesn't care.
Funny, and you were my first festival. Funny how that
we
works
were
out.
first anyway, yeah. So it didn't matter. I think we're well aware that being on a 65-foot screen is so different from being on YouTube. It's not. Even if your film had been on YouTube for a year, we would have shown it because it's just a different experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen my film on the big screen a couple times now, and it always like, oh my God. Always like, oh, it's so big, you know?
It's incredible. Isn't it incredible?
Yeah, to watch it like in a theater.
And thankfully, our venue has really wonderful projections. Like the colors really come through beautifully.
Film Invasion LA spoiled me for film festivals. Wonderful experience. Everyone send your films to Film Invasion LA.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you had a good experience there. And and I confess, like I am a bit of a theater snob in a way. Well, you know, when you shell out money for a movie and then the projection's lousy,
it's like
I'm like, why am I not just watching this at home?
Yeah. And
so clearly, we're very happy to be at a venue with wonderful projection and color because films like yours deserve it.
Thanks.
So you're doing, and interestingly, I guess it was summer break that I met you.
Yes, it was summer break.
Summer break, and so you go back for your third year and you're working on the
next film.
The next film, and it's nearly done, or you're getting there?
It's getting there. The plan is to have it like mostly done. I don't know if I'll have it be like 100% finished, like, oh, it can go in a festival the next day type thing. I might have to pick away at it a bit more. But I definitely want it more done than Anansi was the time there, you know? Because when Anansi first showed, it didn't even have the ending. I hadn't even drawn any of the ending stuff yet.
So funny. All right, here's a question that was on my mind as soon as you mentioned Slam Dance and other stuff. Mm-hmm. But has Anansi been at one of the festivals that's Oscar qualifying?
I believe so, yes.
Because I don't know, I might be biased, but every year I will go to, like, you know, when that theater in North Hollywood, the Lemley North Hollywood, will show all the Oscar nominated animated shorts and Oscar nominated live action shorts, but they also show 10.
Oh.
They'll normally show like my understanding is they go like a list of 50 and then 20 and then 10 and then they choose 5 that are the nominees. So the 5 runners up get shown at the theater too, because anyway, and I mean, I think your film deserves to be in the conversation at least.
Oh wow, that's high praise. I mean? That's high praise.
Because I have watched enough of this stuff by going to that it's just so much more creative and just colorful and beautiful and as you said, it's got a signature style that when you were saying you want people to recognize that style and hire you for that style, I'm like, yes, let's get this man an Oscar nomination. Lord knows you can't beat Pixar when it comes down to the freaking actual award. Yeah, it's hard to beat the film that opened for Moana 2 or whatever. I don't even know if they put a short in front of it. Does Pixar still throw short in front of most of their films?
Not always Pixar now. Sometimes the normal... Because the way it works is like there's Pixar and then there's like Disney, which is like Disney does like Tangled, Frozen, blah, blah, blah. That's their 3D animated stuff. And then Pixar is Up, Toy Story, which is also 3D animated, but like, you know.
But very different style,
Or different style of storytelling, you know. That's, But I feel like they're becoming more similar
and
now.
DreamWorks did their own thing, and Fox, and there was, it was just funny now that I used to see a lot of animation, and now like I have to bother to see it because now the kid's in high school, so it's not like we watch animation.
You don't have the excuse to be like, taking my kid.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about having a kid is I every year I was like, okay, Moana is better than all the films nominated for Best Picture this year. Why isn't Moana just nominated for Best Picture? That was me 10 years ago.
Wow.
I think it was 10 years. Around that.
We could get into this in the underrated the question when we get there, because I have I mean, I've got like some favorite animated films where I'm like, oh, this didn't get recognized by the Academy, you know, which is like kind of just how it is to some regard, which is a bit sad. But like, you know, I feel as though we'll get there eventually. I feel like attitudes to animation are changing a bit. There's still like this preconception that it's only for children, which isn't like, I mean, I love making it. I feel like Anansi could work as just like a children's thing, you know? It's not necessarily like just for adults or whatever, but the point is like it's a medium, you know? And you can literally make any type of film animated. But, you know, a lot of in the West, people are still held back to the idea like, oh, it's got to be like funny. It's got to be for kids. Adult animation's just like South Park and Family Guy. You know, it's not like evocative storytelling like The Sopranos or, you know, Game of Thrones, even though you could very easily tell an animated story like that. But, you know, we're getting more of that now. So attitudes are changing. And
it is, like, I mean, Pixar sort of pioneered the definitely for kids, but they always made sure that it would appeal to the grown-ups too, right? Like that was sort of Pixar's thing, was that there's something for everyone. But I mean, I feel like that film, The Wild Robot, I feel like that was certainly appealed to all ages. I mean, in a lot of ways, it wasn't for kids at all, except for the fact that it was animated, right?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of that would go. But the wonderful thing, like, so I was going to say with Anansi is like, kids will respond to the characters and the animals and the colors, but adults are responding to the beauty of the art and the story. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's something for everyone in your film.
I'd like to think so too. I have to say though, there's nothing like seeing children watch my film because they just wear their joy so evidently on their face. That
must actually be amazing.
Yeah,
so
like,
you've gotten that experience.
I've had that experience because, you know, I brought the film home. I've shown it to my siblings. I've shown it to, you know, like random people bring their kids over sometimes. And they'll be like, oh, we want to see the Anansi film. And I show it to them and they're watching. I'm like, you know, and they're smiling and they're laughing. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, that's not something you get a lot with, even if it's just adults watching it, even though I love that, you know, everyone can enjoy my film. It's a special thing when like a kid likes your film or, you know.
Oh, I'm going to add that a kid doesn't know. A kid will be honest with you no matter what.
True.
I was going to say a kid doesn't know to be polite.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like,
very true.
Like you can't trust your friends and loved ones. They'll go, oh, this is brilliant. And you're like,
what is it?
I was watching your face.
Yeah, they can't hide it.
But the kids, it's pure. It's pure, right? If they were bored, they'd literally look at you and go, I'm bored.
Oh my God!
Right. Whereas when they are enraptured by your work, you know that you got them,
and they absolutely. It's funny too because over the years, I have siblings that are much younger than me, like 10 years younger than me, so they're like little kids, and you know, sometimes they look at my art stuff and they're like, huh? What? Like they don't get it at all. So I know when they really like my stuff. So it's nice when they do.
Excellent. Actually, I mean, there must be animation festivals. Like, are there animation festivals that like fill the room with kids?
With children?
That there should be.
Maybe none that I've been to.
It makes me want to like have a kids day.
Like a kids fest.
like literally like just reach out to the local schools and say, hey, look, if someone's under 12, it's free or something.
That could be fun. I will say that I love children, but they're not always conducive to the best theater experience. I mean, not many children are going to want to sit through a 4-hour screening of films, even fun animated ones, you know?
Even a half hour.
Even a half hour.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. When we have a block of, and we only do a block of 3 or 4 films, we don't do the 8-9 film blocks. But yeah, even then it's always at least 40, 45 minutes, if not longer. And yeah, that's a lot to keep kids sitting down.
It is for sure.
Although I don't know, they make it through in a feature film.
It really depends on the kid, you know? Like, some of my siblings are, like, down, you know? Like, we watch films together all the time. Other ones would rather go outside and play football. You know, it's, like, different for each kid. Again, you know, different for adults, too. Some adults would not want to sit down and watch films for 2 hours. You know, they'd rather go outside and do something.
We have entered an interesting era, right? Because people complain about attention spans and this and that, and now we have algorithmic amplification and video being vertical and all kinds of things, right? And yeah, who knows? I'll share with you, amusingly, I always enjoy when I'm watching submissions to the festivals, when something has a slow pace and I'm completely involved in the film. When it ends, I always make a point of saying to somebody, I'm like, I'm so glad that film reminded me that I don't have a short attention span. Because sometimes you do get bored with stuff. You're like, do I have a short attention span now? No, if something is it doesn't have to be fast paced to grab you.
Yes, very true.
And I want to give those filmmakers an extra hug just for like, thank you for reminding me that I haven't ruined my brain with my phone completely. Well, so you're gonna get this MFA.
Yes.
And then your life begins.
Yeah. Then I'm out there in the world.
You're out there. You're in Los Angeles, and you'll have 2 projects to show everybody.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, granted, I'm also looking at different residencies right now. You know, I might head over back to Rhode Island, do like an art residency there. Even looking to some stuff in Europe, you know.
Is that like you like working and teaching, or
no? Like
what is a I actually don't know exactly what a residency is.
Well, it depends on the residency.
Yeah.
Some of them are like, you know, they give you a studio space and you live there for like, you know, anywhere between a month to 6 months, or like, you know.
Oh, like modern day Medici's?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. They go there and you make your work, and then maybe you have a big show at the end. Or maybe you don't. Maybe it's just about you making the work. Or maybe you work there and then you have to give lectures on the side, like what you're saying. Like it's part teaching. Like, you know, there's lots of different residencies out there, and I'm still applying to some. And I'm applying for grants, and I'm applying for like, you know, this kind of stuff. I really want to try and make my own space for myself, you know, in the artistic world. Because a lot of people I know in similar situations to me can, you know, maybe go back home and like live in their home country and get work there now. You know, like they go to America to get a degree and then they come back home, you know. But I cannot necessarily do that, because even though I love Jamaica and I love my family and everything there's not really an animation industry in the same way, you know? There's not like...
Yeah, you'd be isolated from it.
Yes.
And even if electronically there could be some presence, you need to be part of the community, right? I mean, you do.
Which doesn't mean that there aren't talented Jamaican animators there. I've seen some of their work already, but it's just like... It's hard for them. I've seen that, you know, also that it's hard for them to find work just to like, you know, and I want to be the kind of person that can, you know, hopefully like, it would be great if I could be the kind of person that could light the way for Caribbean immigrants down the line. They could be like, oh, you know, I'm from Jamaica, but this guy's from Jamaica and he could, you know, do all this stuff and he animates now and he's okay. You know, he's doing fine.
I don't want to get grandiose, but yeah, for all you know, then you know, if you have a degree of success, then you can sponsor residencies in Jamaica for young artists.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing. I would love to be. I mean, like, you know, if I had like the money, like if I was making like money, you know, I would be like sponsoring scholarships and stuff. Because I mean, not to get like back into it necessarily, but the only reason I was able to afford art education like CalArts or RISD is because I have a permanent resident status. You know, technically, you know, I have a permanent resident status in Florida, so I could apply as an American citizen and get financial aid. If I did not have financial aid, then even though I got into both of those schools, I would not have been able to afford to go.
Right. Or there would have been life-destroying student loans.
I mean, as an international student, you can't even apply.
Oh, you can't even, right. Oh, got you.
Exactly. And that's especially sad because I have many talented friends back home who, could get or have gotten
and
into
you were
art
able to
schools.
establish residency as a younger person?
Yes, I was.
Because of family in Florida?
Yes. And because my stepmother was an American citizen. My stepmother was an American citizen. She came back down here, and then I kind of got grandfathered into her citizenship, and then we had family in Florida, so we kind of finagled it a bit, saying oh, we're here, and now I'm fully a citizen, so they can't even get rid of me. I'm fully here all the time,
Well, I'm very glad. I'm very glad. Although you are in the right state that. Well, I don't want to get political.
Oh my gosh, I know what you mean because I became a citizen last year, and part of me is thinking did I choose the best or worst time to become a citizen? At least now, I feel like the process is gonna get very complicated. So I'm glad I got it out the way at least. But even so, I'm here.
You are here. You're a U.S. citizen. And a Jamaican citizen, right?
And
You're dual citizenship. So if things get really bad here, I might be asking you. No, it's okay. I don't have to bug you. My best friend I grew up with lives in Canada. So,
really?
Oh, so there's a basement in Canada with our name on it if we really need it.
Oh,
a little basement apartment.
Oh, how many states are there in America?
50?
Oh, so the 51st state, Canada?
Yes, that is a valid joke, guys. There is someone talking about that stuff.
Oh, my God. Let's not turn the whole podcast into that.
We can't.
But it's on everyone's minds.
Obviously, our laughter betrays our bias, but
yeah,
I think my bias is just truth. I'm very into truth. And the truth is, I don't know what the heck is going to happen, but you're here. You're a citizen. That's good. But I really don't think California is going to let anyone get deported. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's what we don't know, Stuff is uncertain.
I'm laughing, but Jared, I'm literally, it's just sitting around going, okay, we have a judicial system, and we have judges and courts and a constitution, and it'll hold up, right? Will it hold up? It should hold up. We're hoping it holds, but we really don't know right now.
It's fascinating to know that all these important American systems were really just operating on the honors system, fingers crossed, pinky promise.
This is just the way it's done.
Yeah,
We don't have to make it a law because who would do that?
Who would do that?
And now, look, there's a vice president who said this week that what right do the courts have to tell us what we can and can't do? And everyone just literally goes, 3 branches of government, checks and balances. That's the purpose of the courts, is to tell you when you're breaking the law. And oh my gosh, yeah, it's
strap in for the next 4 years, everybody.
We're in for a ride, but we are in our little California bubble, which I try to find comforting.
Yeah.
All right, that was we got into politics instead of AI.
Yes. We talked a bit about what we would talk about for this this interview, and those were some of the hot button topics.
It's hard not to, right? It's
hard not to, especially much like with COVID. You're expected to make art during tumultuous times. And that's just kind of how it's going to have to be for a little while.
I was a kid of the 70s and a teen of the 80s, and we had some great punk rock that was a reaction to the Reagan era. And I keep looking forward to what kind of art will be a reaction to this era.
You hope. You
But
hope. You
we've
hope.
also hit a weird point where, like, art doesn't... Like, I don't know who the great young bands are. Like, I'll even say to, like, the young people, I'll be like, okay, you're a senior in high school. What bands kick ass? And they're like, whatever's on Spotify. And I'm like, no, you're supposed to have a favorite. Anyway.
I'm not the best person to have this discussion with. I'm like, my music tastes are so weird and all over the place. I'm not into bands so much as I am into specific songs that I just listen to over and over again.
Gotcha. Totally valid.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, where can people, social media, website?
Yes. Okay. I am That Is Hall on every kind of social media platform. I have an Etsy under there if you want to buy artwork from me. I have it on Instagram, That Is Hall. If you want to see my portfolio, I'm That Is Hall, myportfolio.com. I'm even on Twitter and Blue Sky as well, actually, as That Is Hall. So just...
That Is Hall.
Oh, I should spell it because some people think I'm saying That Is All. It is That Is Hall, like
Hall.
my last name.
Last name, Jared Hall.
Chatishall.
And your Etsy is also That Is Hall?
Yes, everything. That's
Very
my
cool.
go-to
Very cool.
handle, yeah.
I do highly recommend, look, buy people gifts from Jared's Etsy.
Spoiler alert, I have a gift for you, Jeff, that I want to give you after.
I am touched and thank you. I'm thanking you before I even see it. Thanking you before I even see it. And amusingly, you're of the last three people on this podcast, you're the second one with an Etsy store. Someone who made a film that was at Sherman Oaks Film Festival last year makes fake food.
Fake food?
She makes like foam donuts out of latex and things, and coffee cups and really
How
cool.
big are they? Mini or like
I think they're to scale.
Interesting.
They're life size. And so she actually makes a popcorn thing.
Oh.
And this is the 10th anniversary for Filmvasion Los Angeles and Sherman Oaks Film Festival this year. So I'm gonna buy the foam popcorn thing, movie popcorn thing for some awards.
Awesome. That's fun.
It's a fun thing for the 10th anniversary.
I think so.
Yeah, there we go. All right, well, people should... All right, we'll make those clickable links for everything. Clickable links for all of Jared's That Is Hall things. Mm-hmm. And now I will get us out of here with my closing spiel, which is, well, first of all, thank you, Jared, for being here.
Glad to be here.
Thank you to anyone who's listening. Please like and subscribe if you want to be a nice person. You could even write a review. Every once in a while I tell this joke that, you are probably the 200, somewhere around like the 255th to 60th person on this podcast.
Wow.
And I do not have, I think I got like 50 reviews. So I don't even have a review from everyone who's been a guest, which means most people have had a terrible time here.
Oh.
But anyway, just kidding. So thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to learn more about the Discovery Indie Film Podcast, or there was a TV series that was born out of it, go to discoverindiefilm.com. On social media, it's always DIF wins, because I had to change it. So DIF for Discover Indie Film, and then wins because that handle won the championship. And when I mention a TV series, you can go on Amazon Prime Video, and if you type in Discover Indie Film in search, you will find a TV series called Discover Indie Film that is short films from the festival circuit. And there's 7 seasons. And the 8th season, they rejected my 8th season because it was I got greedy and made it all dance film. No dialogue. And they just sent me a reply that said, "We're not licensing this season."
Oh.
And I was like, but the dance is beautiful. I know. I've nearly compiled a new season of stuff with dialogue, and I'm going to try to pepper in some dance and see if they reject it. But honestly, it's when like a huge corporation says no to you, sometimes you just go, I guess that's that.
What can you do?
There's no one to talk to. So anyway, but thank you, Amazon, for allowing us to have our show on your servers. All right. Jared's film, Anansi the Spider, won those awards at Film Invasion Los Angeles. You can learn more about that festival that we hold every June if you go to filminvasionla.com, and it's at Film Invasion LA on all social media, including Blue Sky.
Yep.
It's funny because and then its sister festival is the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. We hold that one every December, and you can learn about that at ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. And there's a website called IndieChannel.tv that you should check out. And I'm going to share with Jared that I recently, just actually in the last 2 weeks, I gave up Instagram and Facebook. I don't open the apps anymore. I don't when my thumb goes to tap on it, I immediately swipe up and get rid of it. And I just stick to Blue Sky now. And because of that, actually this week I created a Blue Sky account for the podcast and both film festivals. So they are on Blue Sky now.
Awesome.
And I will just share with Jared and the world that I stopped. It was the algorithmic amplification, and believe me, I loved all the bunny rabbit videos and husky videos, and mostly animal videos would just occupy my time. But I stopped with the Instagram and Facebook, and within 4 days I was reading a book. All of a sudden I had time for a book.
Wow. Okay.
And my brain actually said to me, I was like, my wife was on her phone, and I was sitting there, and I was like, what should I do while she's on her phone if I'm not going to look at Instagram? I'll read. My brain literally said, pick up a book, you jerk. So anyway, I highly recommend people step away from things that feed us angertainment and things, and step into quality, well, whatever you want. But I find my life is a lot better now that I've gotten away from social media a little bit. And I love Blue Sky because it's like it used to be, where I just see what my friends are posting, and it's not throwing things at me trying to keep me on. I don't know. All right. I'll get off of my soapbox. Jared, thank you so much.
Thanks again.
And the next podcast after this one will be Jared answering those 4 questions: favorite films, underrated, overrated, and something lesser known. So that'll be a good one. All right. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening.